What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the College Sports Connection podcast, where Double A, Alex, and AJ host the Mid-American Conference Best.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the CSC podcast, all action, all the time. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Joining me, as always, you love him, you know him, it's AJ the Guru.
What's going on, everybody?
AJ, welcome back. It is, well, we're pretty much through the round of 16, the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament now, and it's hard to believe how quickly March Madness flies by. I think we always forget that this tournament, we get excited, and then it's boom, blink of an eye, and we're halfway through it.
Yeah, we really are. The first two rounds flew by. I think it's because there's so much action. Excuse me. So many upsets in those first two rounds. Really, I mean, that first round was, I don't think anybody had a perfect bracket after the first round.
I don't think anybody had a perfect bracket after the first round, and frankly, I don't think anybody had a perfect bracket after the first two regionals.
Yeah, I mean, there's a high likelihood there wasn't. But that's what makes March fun, you know. It's the gambling, it's the entertainment, it's the brackets, it's the, I think I saw something where March is like the most popular month for men to get vasectomies, so they can sit around and watch the tournament all weekend. Like, not a bad lifestyle, not a bad idea. So that's just what's fun about March Madness, and we are going in here at the end of March already, and heading into the Sweet 16 tonight, actually.
Heading into the Sweet 16 tonight, a couple good games on tap with that. But before we get into that, we have a couple of postseason tournaments that the Mid-American Conference was selected to play in. Starting on the men's side, just two men's teams played in postseason action. It was Kent State with the automatic bid out of the Mid-American Conference, and Toledo earning the automatic bid for the NIT. Neither result was what we wanted, unfortunately. Kent State went in, and I think they really gave it their all in that game against Indiana. But ultimately, Indiana just too tough in that first half. And they ended up winning 71-60 over Kent State. Phenomenal season for Kent State, though, finishing 28-7. Just not the way you want to finish your run, though. They looked, I don't want to say they looked outmatched, but Indiana just had more star power.
Yeah, they really did. Trace Jackson, he's just a man amongst boys. You look at it, too, in that game, everything that went right for Kent State in the MAC championship went wrong for Kent State in the first round of the tournament. It was 20-some missed free throws, especially late in the second half. Free throws were they were important for the Golden Flashes to stay in that game and just could not hit them. IU would get a little run, and then Kent State would crawl back into it a little bit, and then IU would get back on another run, and Kent State would crawl back into it. It was just too late for the Golden Flashes, but obviously making it to the tournament's huge. Playing an Indiana team who's no slouch in the Big Ten. I think they finished second or third in the Big Ten this year, with a lot of great talent. They were able to hang with them, for a majority of the game while losing by 11. But obviously, you mentioned a great season for the Golden Flashes, making it back to Cleveland 2 years in a row for the championship. I couldn't be more proud of those guys. And, I think there's nothing but positives that came out of the season for the Flashes.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I don't know. It's one of those things. Kent State was on a mission this year. We've talked about this, and Kent State, they knew exactly what they wanted this year after, getting embarrassed last year after their whole locker room incident. We don't need to go into that too much. After their whole locker room incident, they got embarrassed in that championship game against Akron and lost 75-55. And I think this year they just were not going to be denied. Coach Rob Senderoff, everything was silent from Kent State in Cleveland this year. And I think that's exactly what he reminded them of. And I'm sure that was taped in the locker room for them. Like, no, nothing like last year, nothing like last year. So again, huge season for them. Great effort for them to show up against Indiana, who you said, like you said, played really well in the Big Ten this year. It's unfortunate that Kent State was not able to get a first round win, but we said it was a winnable game. It wasn't, and Indiana had to work for it. Indiana didn't go out and score a lot of points. 71 points, a little bit more low scoring than what I think Indiana fans thought it was going to end up being. But a great effort all around. Hats off to Kent State and Rob Senderoff and what they were able to accomplish this year. Moving down to the NIT, the other men's team for the Mid-American Conference, Toledo took the short bus trip up to Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines. And Toledo, going into this game, was 6-8 against Michigan in men's basketball. The women had upset Michigan at Chrysler, I want to say back in January of this year.
Sounds about right.
So Toledo men obviously hoping to make it back-to-back wins over the Wolverines with the men and the women. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Toledo actually had a 2-point lead going into the break, but Michigan just came out and just shot really, really hot from beyond the arc. Hunter Dickinson looked excellent underneath for Michigan, and they were able to get a lot of points inside the paint. Michigan actually scored 50 in the second half and beat Toledo 90-80. This one was tough. Toledo, a lot of people, I think myself included, felt Toledo was underseeded and did not get the respect that they deserved in terms of seeding. When you don't get that respect, you got to show up, you got to play, you got to win those games to prove that you were disrespected. Toledo ultimately didn't end up doing that in the second half. And my heart hurts for Coach Kowalczyk, because this is a coach who has done everything right by this program. I remember when he came in, Toledo had won 4 games his first year, and really they were lucky to win 4. And he dealt with sanctions from the previous coaching regime and just all this stuff, and he's turned them into a consistent mid-major power. And it just sucks that the Mid-American Conference is a one-bid league, because this is a coach and a team who deserves an opportunity at the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, without a doubt. I was talking to my dad earlier, and he asked about the one bid, and we talked a little bit about it. And how there was, you look at the MAC, there was a couple teams, at least 3, if not 4 teams that could have gotten a bid, fall for at least 2 bids. But yeah, this is Toledo. Obviously it was great. Coach Kowalski, what he's done the past couple of years, really turning that program around, and going up to Ann Arbor,
tough place to play.
Tough place to play. Yeah, in Michigan, they had an up and down year. This wasn't the ideal year they've had here in the past. But I mean, heck, I feel like Dickerson's been there for 10 years almost. But he just continues to play extremely well. And that's kind of one of those things where, I think on the court, Toledo was probably a little overpowered, because Michigan does have some big kids. But nevertheless, great season for Toledo. They're continuously competitive in the conference. They're always at the top. They're always going to compete for a championship. And like you said, hats off to the team and the program for how they've been able to turn it around and stay relevant for these past couple of years.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with what Coach Kowalczyk's been able to do with them, and really kind of what he's shown he's willing to put them through, and to kind of give them opportunities at a variety of things. But I really think that Toledo is going to be successful and get back to the tournament. It's been 43 years. We're now going on 44 years since Toledo has played in the NCAA tournament for the men's side. That is a long time. And that sucks, right? You really hate to see that. The only drought longer in the Mid-American Conference is Bowling Green, and I want to say it's like 52 years for them. So that's a long time for a program who's been consistently very successful in the last several years. It's a very long time to to not have these wins, to not get to the NCAA tournament. And so I'm hopeful that as Toledo continues to improve and continues to find things, I'm hopeful for Coach Kowalczyk and the program that they can get over that hump. But let's stick with Toledo here since we're already here. Let's flip over to the women's side. They won the MAC women's tournament, won the regular season championship. Banner year for Brian Blair as the athletic director. Just an incredible year for him that he's having. But Toledo went out and they played a couple games in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
An opening win against Bill Fenley, who coached at Toledo from the late 80s to the mid 90s, got Toledo to its first NCAA tournament in 91, helped them win their first ever NCAA tournament game in the early 90s. Now he's coaching at Iowa State with coaches who either played or coached with him while he was at Toledo. So this was just a very much a Toledo reunion, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Lady Rockets reached the second round of the NCAA tournament for the first time in 27 years, first time since 1996, when they beat Ole Miss in the first round of the tournament. And that was a great game. I watched a little bit of that, the Iowa State game. And people were like, oh, this is an upset. This is an upset. And I think everybody in the MAC just knew, not really. We knew that Toledo was underseeded, getting the 12 seed in this tournament in that regional. And I just think that we knew Toledo was on a mission. You heard Trisha Cullip all year talk about just how important this was for her and this team to get to the tournament, to prove what they have and what they could do. And they did, and they came out and they shut Iowa State down. And I think they led as much as 15 at one point.
Yeah, sounds about right. It's one of those things too, where a lot of people who follow the Mid-American Conference, who are close with it, winning that first round was not a surprise. You look at what Coach Culp has done over the past. Gosh, how long has she been there?
She's been there since 2008, I believe.
Oh, hey. So I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's been there a long time. She's been consistent, every year too. So just winning the first round was not a shock to anybody who follows the Mid-American Conference, and especially women's basketball. We had her on the show, it seems like 10 years ago. But early on, COVID, I think, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. She was a fantastic conversation. Hope we get her back on too. And it's one of those things too. She's extremely committed to Toledo. There was a report that came out that she had interviewed for the Pitt job, and she came out quickly denied that down. She's saying she loves Toledo, and she's in the perfect spot there. I think Toledo women's basketball is only going to get better and better as time goes on with her at the helm, and as it has since she's gotten there. So,
and I think to your point on that, I think everybody's talking about, some Power 5 school better come snatch her up, whatever. And I don't disagree with that. I think that she is quite capable of being at a Power 5 program at a bigger school. But frankly, outside of, let's say there's 6 big schools that you would want to go coach at, that's going to have the support that Toledo has shown her. Stanford, Notre Dame, Baylor, UConn, South Carolina. Those are really the 5.
Yeah.
I
Louisville.
think Louisville.
No. So
those 5 or 6 programs, who else is investing in their program that much? Nobody.
No. Yeah. No.
So do you want to continue to do you want to stay the big fish in a medium-sized pond, or do you want to go be a little fish in a huge pond? And I think for her, she's enjoying being the big fish at a school like Toledo, where one, she is showing that Toledo and the MAC deserve respect. But 2, the loyalty there. The Toledo is one of the few programs in the country that give the women just as much as they give the men in terms of athletic access, all this stuff for their basketball programs. They invest just as much in the women as they do the men, which is why both programs are successful. They help each other.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm sure you saw it, but Coach Culp in her press conference after the first game, either after or before, talking about how competitive the Mid American Conference was of women's basketball this year and how, they are a multiple bid conference. She had a great 3 or 4 minute talk about it, and very, very passionate behind it. And it was great to see. And I saw Coach Brady at Ball State and a lot of other coaches retweet it and say, absolutely, she's speaking nothing but the truth, and she was right.
Yeah, she was very right.
And that's one thing too, is the Mid American Conference on the women's side is getting better and better and better every single year.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much fun to watch. We got to watch Ball State and Buffalo women last year in Cleveland, and that was a fantastic game. And it's only gotten better too. You look at some of the newer coaches that come in, Coach Burke, you have Coach Colup and Coach Brady, who've been there for years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talent, and it's only going to get better.
Absolutely. And so, I think it's very much indicative of what this program is capable of, what the MAC is capable of. The sky's the limit. I think Toledo winning their first round game, a lot of confidence. And then, obviously they lost their second round game, pretty ugly fashion, 94-47 to host Tennessee. And I think what's important for this is that Tennessee is one of those programs. Yeah, Tennessee is one of those programs that should be on that list of, if she would get a call from them, go there, right?
Yeah.
But Tennessee is like one of the crown jewel places to play college basketball for women, and size wise, they just had such an advantage on the Rockets, and speed and talent. And not that Toledo was ill prepared. I mean, Toledo very much proved that they deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. But that experience, that quick turnaround experience, it's not like the MAC tournament where, all right, we've seen these teams all twice already this year.
Yeah.
You've not seen Tennessee. You've not seen Iowa State. So now you've got to figure out how to scheme against those guys. This gave invaluable experience to her. Toledo's returning all of its starters, and as well as players who were injured this year. Some of their bigger players. So exciting to see what Toledo does. Hats off to them on an exceptional season, winning the regular season and the conference, as well as winning a tournament game, making it to the round of 32.
Sure.
And great season for them.
And they hadn't ran into Toledo or Iowa State. I also don't think they ran into girls who were 6'4".
No. Yeah, and Tennessee had a whole squad of, I think everybody, but I want to say 2 players on their team were 6 foot and up. Toledo only has like 2 or 3 players total who are 6 foot and up.
Yeah.
So it just that size difference. It's a huge thing. But
absolutely.
But yeah, so hats off to them. We'll move over to, let's jump down to the WBI and Northern Illinois, who played in postseason play this year. The WBI is the female equivalent of the CBI, the College Basketball Invitational. This is the Women's Basketball Invitational. And their tournament is always formatted a little bit different. They have two brackets going 2 different directions. And what I like about what they do, each team is guaranteed 3 games. So if you go 3-0, you've won the tournament. If you go 2-1, you're a runner-up, or something like that. If you go 1-2, you're 5th or 6th place team. If you go 0-3, you're 7th or 8th place team. Yeah. So I really like what this tournament does. Northern Illinois, unfortunately, did not get a win in any of these games. Georgia Southern, North Dakota, and University of Illinois at Chicago, they did lose all 3. But hats off to Northern Illinois for coming out, putting on a great effort.
And Georgia Southern just has a way with Mid-American Conference teams.
They do. They really do.
They have for years.
In all programs, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's them and Georgia State. I don't know what it is. because it seems like a football team is playing them every year, and for some reason, Mid American Conference school gets a run for their money every single year.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, hats off to them. Congrats on a terrific season for them, a bounce back season, really, compared to seasons that we've seen out of them in the past. So, not really much to kind of sit on with that. Coach um, Carlson will have a lot to look at this year. I know she's got a lot of solid players coming back um, for next year. So, really, really hoping to see Northern Illinois continue to make that upward trajectory in terms of their improvement, in terms of moving forward. We've got two teams left. And the first one we'll cover here is the Kent State Golden Flashes. After losing to Toledo in the MAC women's tournament, they got invited to the WNIT where they took on Syracuse in the first round. Unfortunately, did not win that game. Actually, ended up losing by 28 in that game. But Kent State, they haven't had a season this good in quite a long time. They finished 21-11, fourth in the Mid American Conference behind Toledo, Bowling Green, Ball State. But this was a season that Kent State can kind of hang its hat on and be very proud of itself.
Yeah, without a doubt. You look at the success the men have had. For it to be successful on the women's side as well, it's fantastic for that school and that program. Hats off to them for making it to the postseason. Obviously not everybody did. And they were able to stand out and secure a spot and make it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're going to be just fine. They're in a good enough position. The top four teams on the women's side all made postseason play. So hats off to them for sure. Moving on to Ball State. Ball State also another tremendous season. 26 wins on the year. They did play in the WNIT as well, won their first round game against Belmont, ended up falling to Memphis just a couple nights later. But hats off to them for a great season, for continuing the momentum they had from a year ago. And
yeah, absolutely. You look at that game, Ball State put up 101 points in game one, 101 to 86. And this is cool because this was hosted in Muncie. Having lived in Muncie for 4 years, there's not a lot of exciting things going on. But to bring a tournament game to Muncie and to the Nest it's really cool. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have attended that game, because the Nest is a fun place to see a game. But hats off to the girls. They finished the year 26-8. Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit ago, how competitive the women's side of the bracket is for the Mid American Conference. Many teams with 25 plus wins, and it's only going to get better and better and better. So hats off to the Cards. I think Thelma, she became the all-time 3-point scorer in Ball State history, which is fantastic for her.
Thelma Sauga's daughter. Not only does she own that, but did you see what she got named to today?
I did not.
She got named to be a participant of the Final Four 3-point contest.
Oh, good for her.
So she's going to represent Ball State in the Mid American Conference in that contest.
Fantastic.
So it's super exciting for her. She's earned that. Like you said, all-time leader in 3-point shots over at Ball State. And she's earned every bit of that.
Sure. From Iceland to Muncie.
Talk about a big change.
Yeah, this is her 5th year at Muncie as well.
Yep. So she's graduating, and graduating with quite a decorated career.
Without a doubt.
So the last team in the Mid-American Conference is the last team still alive in postseason play. We've got the Bowling Green Falcons. They are in the WNIT. They are now in the Great 8, where they will face Florida at the Stroh Center on Monday night. Should be exciting. They knocked off Liberty in round 1, Wisconsin, Green Bay in round 2, and Memphis here tonight, as of this recording tonight, who beat Ball State just a couple nights prior. And now they take on Florida. A little bit of ugliness after the game, though. And I didn't catch the Memphis's player's name, but Elisa Brett was punched in the face by a Memphis player at the during the handshake line. Get rid of the handshake line. That
Yeah.
is something that's something I really like that Coach Kowalczyk doesn't do
Hmm.
for Toledo. But the handshake line is outdated. Get rid of it. It doesn't need to happen anymore. Emotions are still high. Seasons are
Hmm.
ending, especially in tournament player. Get rid of this thing. It's
Yeah.
not necessary because now you have a situation like this where I was reading on Twitter, the Memphis players were still in the building and the Bowling Green, I want to say city police were like having discussions with people. Like,
Hmm.
and she just straight up punched her in the face and Elisa Brett actually went down. So that, I mean, not great, not a great thing to have happen at the end of what was a pretty good game. Bowling Green won 73-60. Um, but just you can't do that.
No, this is not the first time this year there's been an issue in the handshake line post game. I believe it was Louisville. Is that what it was last week?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, there was an issue there too. Not punches weren't thrown, but conversations were held. But yeah, you're right. It's outdated. It's one of those things. I mean, heck, they don't do it in the NBA. They don't do it in baseball. They don't do it anywhere. So there's really no reason to keep that around, especially like you mentioned, in a tournament game, exhibition game. That's fine, whatever. It doesn't mean much. But now it's like, okay, we're season's ending. One team is going on, the others are going home. Yeah,
Hmm.
let's just cut that. And I'm sure this will be one of the kind of the final nail in the coffin on that. I'd imagine.
I'd imagine at least for BG that'll be the final thing. I'm looking actually at a Blade article right now. Jamara Shoots punched BGSU senior guard Elisa Brett. She fell to the floor, was down while being attended to by players and coaches, and then went to the locker room. Um, Coach Robin Freilich didn't say much during the post game media interview, just trying to figure out what all the things that happened. Um, the athletic department released a statement that said BGSU athletics does not make comments about active police investigations. Priority is with the health and safety of and support of our student athletes.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is
So
yeah,
yeah,
that's
we'll learn more as the days go on.
we'll learn more and we'll keep you guys posted on our Twitter account, um, as well as we learn information. But yeah, not great.
Not at
Um,
all. But no, we're not gonna let that overshadow the fantastic job the BGSU women have done here. Obviously, going into the fourth round, what do they call it?
they call it the Great Eight, and
The
I'm just
Great
gonna
Eight.
go out and
Okay,
say it. And maybe I'm jinxing BG, maybe I'm not. I think BG could absolutely go win this thing. I know Florida's a tough test. I'm gonna pull up the bracket here.
and I think that's great too. The game is in Bowling Green as well. I think it's gonna be
Bowling
fantastic
Green,
for the program,
yep.
fantastic for the fans, fantastic for the community. Um, not having to travel to a neutral site or to travel to Florida
Hmm.
is a great opportunity for the girls to get a W at home.
Bowling Green, yeah, they get to face Florida, and if they win that game, they will face either Kansas or the winner of Arkansas versus Texas Tech. Um, actually, I'm trying to see if I can see the full bracket. Yeah, Kansas or the winner of Arkansas versus Texas Tech. And if they would win, and then on the other side, you've got Harvard, Syracuse, Columbia, Washington, Kansas State, Oregon, and San Diego, all still alive. So you win this, you're in the they call it the Fab Four. That's what it's looking like they're calling
Interesting.
it. Um, so yeah, you win your grade 8 matchup against Florida, who on this year has looked pretty decent. I don't know too much about them, but I'm just kind of looking at some stuff here. And I mean, 19 and 14, sure they went 5 and 11 in SEC play, but still, they're almost a 20-win team right now, and they are running through people in this tournament.
Mhm.
They had a close one against Wolford in the first round, but then beat Wake Forest by pretty much 20, ran through Clemson by 10 tonight. So it's, they're looking pretty good. Bowling Green obviously also looking pretty good. But yeah, no, there's some quality stuff happening here. It's going to be a really good tournament finish, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think that game will be what, Saturday?
Monday.
Monday. That's right. So yeah, that'll be a fun one. I know you might be going to that one.
I'm real tempted. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just kind of looking at it and I'm like, man, that would be a really good opportunity. So I might check that out. You guys might be seeing me tweet from that game. That'll be a good one for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. So we've got at least one Mid-American Conference school still in postseason play,
Yep.
which is exciting. And that for BG to be in the spotlight, if you will, during March Madness is always great. Having a Mid-American Conference school in the spotlight during during the tournament, it's going to be fantastic. I think they've got a legit shot to beat Florida and go on to the Fab Four, which would even be better.
Yeah, I think, and like I said, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that BG could absolutely win this tournament, and they would join Toledo as one of just two teams in the Mid-American Conference to win a postseason basketball championship, which I think would be really, really special.
Without a doubt.
So yeah, man, that's it for our recap. A couple exciting things happening in baseball. Akron knocked off Michigan 11-10. Toledo almost beat Ohio State in back-to-back years, lost in the 9th inning on a close one.
Watch that, yeah.
So the MAC's gonna be tough in baseball this year. Kent State's on like a 13-game win streak. And they have like a national player that people are, I want to say it's like their third baseman, who like leads the nation in some pretty substantial stat. I'm not entirely sure what it was. But yeah, no, some good stuff happening in the Mid-American Conference. Ball State's looking really good. They've won 4 or 5 in a row. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for warmer weather. We've got lacrosse action happening. Spring soccer's kicking back up. So it's just a lot of great action, and I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We got gymnastics as well.
Yep.
I just saw something here on the Ball State Sports Link. Ball State is ready for action in March 29th, the NCAA regional competition in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yep.
So that's one thing I want to get a gymnastics coach on here this offseason. That'd be a really, really fun conversation because obviously I know nothing about gymnastics.
Thanks, two of us.
Gone to a few gone to a few meets when I was in school. Watched it. It's impressive as hell. I would love to talk to a coach about that sometime.
Absolutely. Well, hey man, I think that's going to about wrap it up for us today. I have nothing else left to really talk about until at least after Monday when we find out the fate of BGSU and what they're doing in postseason play. But yeah, anything else on your end, man?
That's it.
Cool. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. I got a few things in the pipeline that we're going to be unveiling here shortly. Looking forward to bringing you guys some more great content, more great Maction. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
See ya.